right, welcome to another episode of Live with Greg. I don't forget which episode it is, but this, if you approve it, will go live May 11th. So if you've approved it, today's May 11th. No, it isn't. Whatever. And I'm here with my nephew, Nate. How's it going, Nate?
It's going well.
All right.
It's going good. Yeah, it's going good. Too early to tell.
All right.
Final answer.
You sure you don't want to call a friend?
Yeah, going for the water quick.
It didn't take me long. All right, so you consider yourself addicted to drugs?
I have been an addict for, I had the number last night, but being the addict I am, I think it's 22 years or something, 23 years, something in that range, 22 to 23. Let's see, I'm 37 now, 14, 20 was 14, 23 years. 23 years I have habitually, almost on a daily, done something. For the past 9 years, I've been addicted to opiates, which is a whole other monster. You know, that's not marijuana, that's not methamphetamine even, it's not alcohol. Although those, you know, not to say those are like good drugs to be addicted to, but this one is really, that chemical, that physical dependency is a whole other monster. So, on the flip side, I have gone from very little every day to like crazy amounts to heroin to back to decent amounts, and I'm currently at a pretty manageable low amount where I like really want to get high still because I don't really feel high a lot. And that's been going on for months. It's been close to 9 months since I've been down in Nevada, so it's been like 7 months since I've been doing not very much at all. Like maybe a fourth or a fifth of what I was doing before I came down here, which was smoking heroin every day, which I don't recommend to anyone ever. It's the devil. That's where I'm at with my addiction. And if it wasn't opiates, it would be probably something else. If I ever stop taking opiates altogether and go through the months of, you know, feeling emotions and doing all that kind of stuff again, which in some way I am a little bit now, but until you really get clean, until you really am off all that stuff, because I've had a couple experiences with that, it's not the same. It's bullshit, really. It's bullshit. Like, you're either not doing drugs or you are. I'd be smoking weed or alcohol, probably doing something else to take the edge off. Most likely, I would be doing something else. That's just the only way I've ever really coped with life, you know. As soon as I discovered there was something to take you away right away magically, I thought, yeah, this is great. Why doesn't everyone do this? This is amazing, you know. This is amazing. Started with pot, and then it was a long time, it was just pot. Pot was great. Pot was amazing. And it was my best friend. And then it started letting me down, and I started getting paranoid from it. And I think it was the potency maybe or something, I don't know. It started really fucking me up. And I discovered methamphetamine, which was great. It was really fun too, until that started killing me. And, you know, I ended up in jail twice. Only 2 times I've been in jail was from that. So I stopped doing that. And then I discovered the opiates. Actually, before that, I had a brief love affair with the benzos, the calm down ones. And it was the only time in my adult life that I can remember walking down the street and not feeling that fist of anxiety in the pit of my stomach. But those got really bad, and I realized I was completely addicted to those, and the withdrawal was horrible. So I got off those permanently, which was really hard, but I did it. It was easier to do it than not to do it, so it wasn't that hard. And then I discovered little Vicodin pain pills, the little 500 milligram Skittles, you know. They're laughed at now in the serious drug user circles because they're you know, it's like it's not a lot, okay? It's like a little butt of a cigarette when you want to hold one. And that, of course, your tolerance grows. And I think it was 2 or 3 years that I was doing it before I even realized, holy shit, I'm a full-blown addict. I need more and more all the time. I've lost a lot of stuff because of this. I have no goals anymore. I give 2 shits about anything. I float around and look for drugs. And I was always working, but working was just really to get money to pay my rent and buy drugs. That was it. There was no saving up for a car or going for a trip or any of that. What you sober people do. and then that, of course, the pills got too expensive for a number of reasons. And then heroin, which is really no cheaper, but it's stronger. So I started smoking that, and I was doing that for about 4 or 5 months. And then I moved down here to Nevada. I think mainly and directly, the only reason I think was to help my mom to raise the nephews, my nephews, her grandchildren. She called me up one day and said, "Hey, Erin is moving back to Grass Valley. That's my sister. She's going to try to get shit together up there. In the meantime, her boys, she has two boys, Brendan and Jackson. Brendan just turned 10, had a great birthday for him, and Jackson is 9. But they're going to stay back with Grandma while she gets her stuff going." I came back to Nevada, and the first couple months was crazy difficult, like raising, not by myself, but helping to raise children was like not in my comfort zone or wheelhouse. It was fun being an uncle. I've been there every day of their life since they were born. I watched them be born. I've loved them to death forever. They mean the world to me. I think I love them more than just about anything in the world, which is beautiful. And it's probably one of the things that keeps me from going crazy with addiction. It's great. They're amazing. But it's really, you have 3 children of your own. It's fucking difficult work. And anyway, so I'm kind of rambling now, but so where I'm at right now with addiction, what I think of addiction and all that, where I'm at with addiction right now is a very, very small amount of Suboxone each day. That's kind of all I can get a hold of. It's all I think maybe it's all I want, even. That's not all I want. No, I want giant balls of heroin, to be honest. That's what I want. I want just, to take a heroin bath. But that's totally unrealistic, and I do consciously make an effort I do consciously make sure that I'm always there enough to be potent in their life. I live with them, they live with me, so they don't see me nodding out. They've never even really seen me fucked up, to be honest. I've never put them in that situation. So I certainly maintain. You wouldn't tell the difference. They never know if I'm high or not high. There's no what's wrong with Nate. There's no what's going on, why is he being like this. Like I do maintain, and I've made a promise to myself not to expose them to the dark side of that. And if I am going to do that, it'll be away from them in a hotel or with my other friends or something. Yeah, that's that.
And that's all I have to say about that.
And that's all I got to say about that. Yeah. So just to clarify something really quick for our viewers.
All 3 of them.
Have I missed out on so much? Is this some cry for help, or are all addicts crying for help, or if only they could stop doing something, would they find happiness, and would everything be so much different? Would it be a whole nother world for them? Does using automatically imply that it's a terrible situation? Like we know about the functional addicts, and we know about those who aren't even really functional, but you can still make an argument that they're enjoying life, or they may even be better off that way. If George W. Bush had continued using cocaine and drinking, we may not have had the Iraq War or something. So, hypotheticals are kind of silly. What we do have right now is a terrible, terrible crisis with drugs in the country, opiates for the most part, and benzos now too. Everyone likes the Xanax. I guess this is more about me though, right? Mm-hmm. So like my own experience with addiction is that I don't have a lot of sober time to support any argument that off the drugs would be better or worse for me. Excuse me, I don't have much evidence that this. Yeah, I guess either way. I've had a couple bouts with sobriety, and I was like the same fucking person, you know. I think some of my problems are systemic. Well, if I could use that word, they're institutionalized almost. They're almost part of my code, my DNA. Simple stuff, you know, from a lack of parenting and discipline. My own immaturity, my emotional IQ is, while it's very high, I can't deal with them. You know, I can explain all day why people and why I do things, but it doesn't mean I can manage them or deal with them. So I'm not really an adult when it comes to emotions, because it really does stop you developing. I think most drugs keep you from developing emotionally. So there's some serious setbacks. What I have experienced, and why I went to drugs in the first place, was my lack of coping skills, or the coping skills I had simply weren't good enough to deal with everyday problems. Whether it's just the way I am, or, you know, nurture nature, I don't know which one it was, my environment, or I'm Jewish on my father's side, so I could just be that classic neurotic Jew, you know. My father's side of the family, almost all the dudes, men, died in their early 50s or mid 50s of what they think are they thought were stress-induced heart attacks. So maybe I'm just dealing with that or whatever. Didn't have a lot of parenting when I grew up. You know, my mom was kind of here and there and everywhere, who's dealt with her own drug issues herself. So I think we're visual learners. We're very much so visual learners, and I kind of saw that was okay to do drugs, or at least knew about it or something, like it, whatever. Anyway, I'm rambling. To get back to where I was. I guess what I'm trying to say is that I'm not making a case for my drug use. I'm not excusing it or saying I need it. But what I have experienced is that I've seen numerous doctors about my social anxiety, and at its worst, it was crippling, and I was hospitalized because of it. Not institution or anything, but I've been to the ER a couple times with stroke level blood pressure, and one time all my extremities were freezing up and they were freaking out, and it was all psychological for the most part. So I do have this serious panic attack disorder and social anxiety, which has gotten better over the years. But who knows? It's always been married with drugs. You know, I've always found what works for me at the time, so I can go out. And I go out very little. So bottom line, what I'm getting at, I'm rambling, is that I wonder if maybe I just will be using something for the rest of my life, and I'll have to attempt to maximize my happiness and my productivity, whatever I think is going to be worth doing in this life, with drugs part of the equation. Something like that. You know, or it's a huge cop-out. You know, if you're not going to say it, I will. It's a huge cop-out, you know, to say, well, this is who I am and I got to do this, you know, sorry, and not really give the sober thing a try, you know, because that's a lot of work. I hate work. I hate work. You know? My good friend Steve Hogue said, if you had gone the straight and narrow way and been truly invested in yourself, and you'd probably be working more, maybe even have a career, and wouldn't have that time to give to the nephews like I'm doing right now. And I thought, that's beautiful, thank you. You know, that kind of made me feel decent about my position. But, you know, it's also, it's like some homeless person being at the right place at the right time. You know, well, thank God I was homeless, or this wouldn't have happened, you know. I think to maximize your potential, you want to have a pretty clear brain and not be dependent on some chemical substance that you can get and sometimes can't get, or it's difficult to get, that does trigger the dopamine release and make you think you just did something worth doing when really you just did nothing. So if I had to write a paper, or if I had to take a position in some debate, I would say drugs are bad and you shouldn't do them. You know, that's what I would do.
Cue music.
Right. My veins are sticking out?
No, you look.
Okay. All right. Cool. I have a blood pressure issue too sometimes. So
Are you feeling a little warm under the collar right now?
A little bit, yeah, a little bit. Just because it's I don't talk about I don't talk about my addiction at length like this very much, you know. And you're someone I admire and respect a lot. That's honest. And it's honest. like it's normally not.
The rest of this
was all bullshit. But you're a cool guy. I know. I have a good friend who goes, but seriously, like, are you bullshitting the rest of the time? You know?
I know.
Or that's my opinion. You know, like I hope it is. Anyway, I love and respect you. You've always been so great to me. So, you know, talking about what I could be doing and I'm not is always difficult. I don't have a problem with it with a lot of people, but yeah. So that's tough. I stay away usually as much as I can from the emotionally difficult topics because I don't have the you know I don't have the tools to deal with them very well. I shy away from them as best I can, as fast as I can. You know, it's difficult when you're trying to if you're trying to solve those problems. It's tough. You know, like you should probably be understanding the problem before you address it or try to act on it. Yeah. Life in the fast lane.
How much time do you think you'd have to give to sobriety to know scientifically if it was a wiser choice or not?
Maybe years? Probably years. I think years. Because I think probably not just me. I've heard this, you know, from professionals and stuff. You need to like go through all these different steps. You know, like you're trying to catch up on 20 years of life. And if you think 6 months is going to do it, like you may be kidding yourself. That may not be enough time. When I did 6 months in 2010, I went to South City and I was working there with my friend, and I did 6 months sober. Like I had a beer every other night or something, like a beer. I wouldn't get drunk because I can't drink very much. And that was it. I was just sober. And at the end of the 6 months, I had a chance to stay clean and stay away from the scene or go back to it. And I chose to go back to it because I thought this wasn't all that great. Like nothing's really changed. I'm still a lazy piece of shit. I don't make good plans. I don't commit. I don't follow through. I've got all these problems I haven't dealt with. This is bullshit, you know? So maybe like 2 or 3 years probably. And like you need a plan during that, like a serious plan, like a career or whatever the fuck you're gonna do. You got to be serious about it and you got to want to do it. Like I haven't wanted to do anything in so long. I have no such appetites for any of these. I have all my friends are sober. My real friends are sober. I have drug acquaintances. My good group of friends that I grew up with are all sober, all college educated, all losers for the most part. None of us can get anything going, sober or high. And they have all these ambitions. Like they give shit. They care about this thing in their car, and they want to do this with that, and the language they use with certain, you know, games they play and stuff. Like they really care about all this stuff. And I just, you know, sober or high, I've never cared about this shit. Like you don't need drugs to be a fuck up, right? You don't need drugs to not.
No. Okay. I was just thinking I'm living proof.
Stop
of that.
it. No, you're just the fucking opposite. Not at all. You don't need.
No, I think I think I'm honest in saying that. I have, 30 years of sobriety for the most part, 25 years at least. I think I'm a fuck up.
I would love to argue the flip side of that position.
All right,
one day.
Yeah.
But let's stay on this, yes.
Yeah.
Of course, compared to me, no one's a fuck up, right? Like, anyone's doing great. But no, relatively speaking, I think you're awesome. But that's irrelevant, right? But yeah, so back to, you don't need to have drugs to not be everything you want it to be. Right?
Yes, there you go. That's a perfect definition of a fuck up.
Thank you.
And by that definition, that's how I'm defining myself as a fuck up.
Gotcha. Now, is that just another cop out for the drug user? You know, like, well, I could be just as bad sober as well. I don't know if that's that way. I don't know because I've never really experienced it long enough. So who knows? I have no plans to get fully sober. It's just nothing I think about very, very much. I usually don't think more than a couple days in advance, maybe a week or something. I do worry now and then. There is a worry in the back of my mind that one day I will be in this impossible situation where either my companion, my partner is no longer, we're no longer together. The house is in my name. I get it when he passes away, but that hasn't happened. There's no guarantee of that it ever will happen. So and nothing's permanent or anything. And I've invested so little in my future, which is so typical of drug addicts. Like there's definitely a correlation between drug use and not planning for the future. That kind of worries me. Aunt Katie was like, Nate, you gotta do something because you're gonna be like 50 something or 60 soon and you can have shit. And I remember at the time I was like, what are you talking about? Like, that's just some hypothetical maybe what if in the future, but yeah. I've reached a bunch of those moments now where I'm like, whoa, I am 30, I'm almost 40. And that keeps going for sure. And I still don't prepare. So drugs in that sense may be really bad for me. It may be fucking me up. That sucks. What are you gonna do? I wish my penis was bigger.
So you're equating drug addiction to the biological fact of your penis size.
I have a good friend. I won't say his name. Back in the day, him and I, although I'm homosexual for the most part, I've slept with some girls, and we slept with a girl together at the same time once. And he's a gorgeous guy. He's really good looking. But he has it's like micro penis. Like absolutely, it's so tiny. It's so tiny. And I talked to him about it honestly one day, or he talked to me about it. Excuse me. And he goes, Nate, I really think my drug use is because of my small penis. And I went, okay, like I didn't, like, good for you. Like that's, you can't change it, so you better find another reason to do or quit drugs, because that's one of those things you can't change. But it instantly brought me to my own sexuality and how quickly I turned to drugs to get away from that, to not deal with that. We are evolved primates. We're mammals. We're monkeys. And as much as we'd love to get away from the sex and ass and dick and boobs and all that dominates a lot of people's thinking. A lot of their energy is devoted to getting your dick into a pussy or vice versa or whatever. So that's serious shit. And when yours isn't the normal, when yours is kind of weird and different, and you could even be ostracized or made fun of or whatever. If you don't feel comfortable within your own sexuality, that's a motherfucker. That's something that I hope no one has to deal with. I would never wish it on anybody. That's fucked me up big time. I almost see the drugs in a way as a sideshow. I still haven't dealt with the original. Like I can barely kiss my boyfriend in public. I have the hardest time showing any affection to him, and I have a lot of issues with that still. It's gotten better over time, but yeah. So I in a way I am like it's not the same thing, but why people use drugs. I think the statistics don't lie. The teenage heroin population on the streets, a lot of them are queer, a lot of them are gay, queer, whatever word we can use now. A lot of them are not heterosexual, normal. They're gay, and that's and especially with opiates, because opiates kills your sex drive. It absolutely kills your sex drive. Like I haven't been horny in forever. Honestly, I was a little bit the other day. Because there was like a gap in my drug use, and I was like, whoa, this is weird. Sexuality and drug use, abuse as a child, neglect, emotional neglect, that's a big one. You got beat up by your father, you said a few times? I don't know, it's just about you.
Yeah, no. I'm just considering your question, and so I can answer it honestly. I would say yes. I was beat up a few times growing up by my father.
And you familiar with like the emotional neglect? I'm sure.
No, never heard of it.
Yeah, okay.
No idea.
Let me tell you about it.
Wait, here, let me.
That's why I'm not the interviewer.
My relationship with my father was really clean when he passed away. And I know my father isn't the person who hit me.
Gotcha. That's beautiful. That's really nice. Do you think any of your early drug use, and you never seemed like the addict, you never came off as an addict. I don't think you ever were a serious drug addict. You were maybe a little different, but I don't know what I'm talking about. I cannot offend people. I have the hardest time being sincere with people. I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings.
You seem really sincere right now.
Thank you. I just like the second I think I've offended anyone, I will retract everything I've just said. I'll change my entire position, pretend I don't even think that way. Do you think maybe some of your having fun with drugs had to do with whatever, emotional baggage and whatnot, stuff like that? Your childhood, not the best childhood?
I have equated my drug use with my parents not being involved in my life the way I wish they were. I also, when I say that, I pull up instances from the past to prove that statement. I can also pull up instances that prove they were involved in my life. So for me, there's a bottom line element of I can prove and disprove that statement. My parents were not emotionally supportive and involved in my life.
Right.
So if it can be proven and disproved, it kind of negates the statement as a fact.
Right.
So then I pull the responsibility of drug use back to me. It was my choice. I chose to do it. And right now, as I talk with you, the why doesn't matter so much. What's more important is why I choose sobriety. And a simple answer to that is you spoke earlier of how you equated some of your choice of using drugs to what was modeled for you by your parents. You've also acknowledged that you are a parental person in your nephews' lives. If your nephews are using drugs 10 years from now, how responsible are you for that choice?
If I'm even slightly responsible, I would feel terrible.
You've said you are slightly responsible. You've given some of the reasons you're doing drugs to your mom and father.
Oh, except it's kind of, I'm in the closet with my drug use with them. They know I'm gay, they know I'm this, they know I'm that. You think it's, no matter what, they're gonna know?
When you were 10 years old, were your mom and dad saying, "Hey Nate, we're doing drugs"?
They would do it in front of me. Yeah. And then the mom went to that rehab, so it was kind of, everyone knew. But that's, I think you made, it doesn't matter. I think they will know eventually anyway.
I think they know. I think people
they probably know
everything.
Yeah.
I think that's part of our DNA. We know what's going on.
They look at me sometimes and they give me a look like, "What's your story, dude?" Like, "What's up with you?" Like, and sometimes maybe I'm just seeing that, but I think you're right. I think if they reach adulthood, if they reach 18, once they're 18, I can do whatever I want. Is what I've told myself, unless their parents really get their shit together and take them back and love them and do half as good as I'm doing, which isn't super great. I'm not financially responsible for them, but emotionally and everything else, I'm trying to give them everything I didn't have, which was everything. But if they reach 18 and they're unaware of my habitual drug use, that would be like a miracle. That would be ridiculously impressive on my part and everyone else. Like, they will know. They will know. So the one person in their life that gave two shits about them, to sit down and actually talk to them for a half an hour, which I should need to do more of still, was a drug user. Is that not a green light for them to go ahead and do it themselves? Like, well, Nate was the only cool thing we had for a while, and he did it. I don't mean to toot my own horn or anything, but their parents are making it easy for me right now. Liam does a good job, though. Liam's doing way better. My brother, with Mason. He's doing great. That's great to see. I'm losing Mason, though. Like, I was his dude. I was his bro. I was his best friend. Now daddy's kicking ass again, and I could see him. Of course he's gonna go to his dad, you know. But I see him like spending more time with Liam, and of course I celebrate that, and I'm like, oh, thank God, Liam's stepping up. He's doing great. I love it. This is just what he needs. But I miss that, you know. I miss being special to someone in that way. I still am, I guess. But yeah, that's, you know, fuck. Now I'm at these, you know, these moral crossroads. You know, how much do I really care about him? Enough to not, you know, worry about endangering. Obviously, not enough to quit my own drug use. You know, it's easy to say you love someone, but actions speak a lot louder than words. Fuck, that's terrible, dude. Why did we do this?
And you've said to me that scientifically speaking, for you to really be in the process of sobriety, it's a commitment of years.
Yeah. Wouldn't you agree? I'm not an expert.
I'm not an expert either, and I agree with you.
Nice.
I am still in the process of sobriety.
When two Jews agree on something, that's gospel, dude. Right. Well, geez, man, I had planned to come here and have this conversation and be pretty sure that I was going to be able to leave without having to do, you know, anything to make any changes. But yeah, wow. What about, you know, now it's like, now this is splitting hairs or something. What?
You don't have to do anything.
True.
Are you about to justify your drug use?
No. Oh, what, just now? No, I was saying, what if I could reach some compromise? I was about to justify my drug use. That's exactly what I was gonna do. But what if I'm only doing this little amount? Fuck, no, you're absolutely right. What if I was to get a prescription from a doctor?
Ask Michael Jackson. Ask Prince.
Did you hear his last call? Michael Jackson's to his friend. So they're gonna kill me. They want me dead. They may try to make it look like I overdosed on drugs. Like, I'm not the big conspiracy guy, but I'm like, damn, that's Michael Jackson. It's gotta be Michael, or it's the best actor I've ever heard. All right, anyway, deflecting. He was so good, man. I found this mix of him dancing. He's fucking incredible. Yeah, right. Drugs are drugs. What about coffee?
Drink it religiously. I do.
Because you're okay with you're okay with your children who will be adults soon or are adults soon or adults drinking coffee. That's something you can live with. I am okay with that. Yeah, in fact,
I look forward to perhaps a day when we're hanging out in a cafe having a cup of coffee together. And I can, as I'm saying that to you, I can feel a part of my energy. It's not 100% clean statement.
Right on. And here I am trying to find something that I can, you know, weasel out of by finding other drugs that we all do that are okay. I don't think coffee has the same potential to lead to other things, like marijuana does, like real psychotropic drugs. You know, caffeine's fun, but you know, it's not the same as pills or even marijuana. As much as I'd love to defend marijuana, you know, marijuana it fucked me up, man. I just checked out, and I think I stopped right there with the marijuana. So yeah, a lot of people do it and they get off of it and they go on and live a great life, or smoke it for the rest of their life and have a great life. But those who are troubled, don't have good coping skills, and had a really rough upbringing, it may not be the best thing for you, you know? So yeah, shit, no, I don't want them to do drugs. I wonder if part of myself has already given up. Like, they're gonna probably do drugs. They're probably gonna be fucked up. Like, don't kid yourself, Nate. You're not gonna save them, you know? Do the best you can to help them and whatnot, but they're most likely gonna do what they're gonna do no matter what. But that's also bullshit. Well, I'll tell you what, I'm gonna continue doing my really low dose of drugs. and they never see me take a strip. It's not a pill, it's in a strip form. You put it under your tongue. They never see me take a strip. They can't tell when I'm on the strips. Obviously, I can't tell when I'm on the strips. And I will be more than aware. I'll be more aware of, talking about it. Whatever, they need not be involved in any of that. But I'm not going to kid myself either and say I'm going to quit altogether. If I tried quitting right now, I don't know if I could be there for him for a while. I don't know if I could deal with my own sobriety and be serious, take that seriously, and have the welfare of 3 children in my charge. That seems unrealistic to me, to be honest, whether I wanted to or not. Yes.
It's possible. You're happy with that?
I'm happy with. I am happy with.
You're
that.
happy, like, okay, I just justified keeping the status quo. I'm good with that. We're good.
Well, I think what you're saying is something I seriously need to think about more. And I'm not going to make any decision right now talking to you. I think that's probably more realistic.
I think that's wise.
Yeah. And that's not a cop-out. Like,
Like, if you're going to do it, you're going to do it seriously.
Exactly.
If you make that commitment,
yes.
You've got years.
Yeah.
You've got years of commitment.
Yeah.
You have some experience of what you will be bringing into your life.
Yes. I think if anyone goes at it willy-nilly, half-assed, then you're gonna fail again. You're not gonna do it. And then nobody wins. What you just said. Yes, you're gonna do it. I'm gonna take it seriously. Absolutely. Remember, of course you remember, Grandpa Bluebird, whatever they called him. You probably didn't see him a lot, actually, because that wasn't.
Oh, the gentleman in Florida.
Yes, exactly, with Barbara and stuff.
I've met him a couple times.
Him and I would talk on the phone a lot, and he would read me poetry and stuff. He was great. He was a cool mentor, Anyway, he said to me once, because we would talk about my drug addiction, and he never really gave 2 shits about it. Like, he's like, look, I'm 80-something years old. Like, I'd rather just have a nice conversation. Good luck with all that. And he didn't really know much about it. But he would say, you're not ready. You're not going to change until you're ready. And when you're ready, you've already changed. And that one has stuck with me for a long time. I like that one.
It's a good one.
Yeah, that is a good one. Yeah. I think that's about that on that one. On drug use and drug addiction. Now,
would you like some more water?
I'd love some more water, but yeah, take a little break.
No, we're rolling. Doing this as fast as I can.
Just lost half our audience. Thanks, brother.
Welcome.
Oh yeah, that's good. If anything changes, let's say, because my mom is kind of the financier of this Help the Nephews project, if she died tomorrow, then I think I would have to reevaluate everything, and I would have to really start looking at my life and have to take my decisions seriously and really be aware of the consequences and all that. That would be like a game changer, No more internet, no more free cable, no more free internet, There's always food in the fridge magically. That's real nice. Yeah, that would all change. And then, like, if the parents, I don't know how they would do it. Like, I'm terrified of us losing our situation right now, because it's the only stability some of those kids have known their entire life. The only stability that they've known. And that's like heartbreaking, dude. And I see their behavior and I see what's good. So anyway, I pray to the God I don't believe in that it stays that way, It has to stay that way. Yeah. Yeah, that's that. How are you?
I'm alright.
Yeah, you are.
Thanks. Is there anything more you want to talk about?
Is it only 1:30? Or is that 2:30?
It's 1:30.
1:30. I wore this to look cool. I don't barely tell time.
Matches your shirt.
I know, right? And the shoes, a little brownish.
Bam!
Gray's tough. Gray fucks everything up. Gray doesn't go with anything, and you can't wear gray with gray.
Gray goes with everything.
Is that what it is? I as for being gay, I got none of the fashion sense. I'm like the worst. My gay friends say I'm the worst gay they've ever met. Anyway. Well, I thought about talking a little bit about the lack of objectivity in everything. Basically, it's not. I was going to say mainstream media or this and that, but there is just this. And talking to older people who have experienced firsthand a time in this country when it was not like this, that the polarization, the divisiveness, the tribalness, it's fucking crazy.
I think that's not real. This country has in its history a civil war.
Ouch. Nothing's really changed.
I think the human process is a process that's been going on since humanity was on this planet. For lack of any better source of history, look at the Bible for me, just as a history book.
Yeah.
The two brothers, one killed the other because he got jealous. Why is his smoke going up and mine's not?
Yeah.
Fuck you. Get out of here. Then mom and dad got mad. What the fuck did you do? You just killed our son? You're out of here.
Not much has changed, huh? This is nothing
It's
new.
a process. It's a process. Now, I deeply believe that all human beings are all human beings. And you look at the very best of humanity that you personally admire, you are capable of that. You look at the very worst of humanity that horrifies you and makes you wretch, you are capable of that.
Don't kid yourself.
And every choice we make is a movement in one of those directions.
Do you think? I think that was really great what you just said. I really do. Yeah, no, seriously, that was great. You have a great. The crowd I talk to, my folks, my people are very this or that about it. You're with us or you're against us. You give a shit or you don't, and you're like, whoa, calm down, people. It's nothing new. This is go ahead and waste half your day thinking that you got some fucking solution. Go mail your senator. Go do it. You told me I like what.
I'm for mailing your senator.
Well, that's action. Exactly. I like what you told me the other day that Healy, the healer, Michael Healy, is that his name?
The healer.
The healer. He's great. He put his money where his mouth. He really went out there, door to door for Bernie and whatnot. And anything short of that is, good for you. Like, if you're doing it to come off intelligent or to pretend you give a shit, if you think you're supporting one, position or whatever is going to translate into something really happening or affecting people's lives, then that's just lazy thinking. That's good. I did have a question though for you. Do you think as citizens of we're not a democracy. A lot of people think we are. We're not a democracy. We're a constitutional republic or some variant of that. Democratic constitutional republic. The founding fathers didn't like democracy. If you were white and you owned land, you could vote. Otherwise, you're just along for the ride. Do you think as the defenders or the inheritors of this beautiful experiment that kicked a lot of ass for a long time, we are obligated to inform ourselves the best we can, or a little bit, or something? What am I asking? Is there a certain amount of energy one must devote to politics, social issues, understanding the issues and the candidates, or can you do just as much good for the cause being completely divorced from it and doing your thing elsewhere, you know. Without corporations, we're all fucked. You know, I know corporations are evil and terrible, but a lot of us work for them. They pay a lot of taxes, and they make some cool shit. If those guys were interested only in politics, then, you know, the economy's important. So, you know, let me, but forget that. Let me say something really quick. Then it's your turn. Maybe, because this covers everything. It takes all kinds of kinds. It takes all sorts of people. We need the drug addicts, the entrepreneurs, the politicians, even religion. I mean, all that kind of stuff. We may need religion now more than ever. I've been thinking a lot lately. So, you know, like, no, politics and being engaged and being informed and giving a shit isn't for everyone. And it shouldn't be. It can't be, it shouldn't be, and it isn't. And that's just fine. I'm like arguing with myself. You know, every time I say something, I'm like, no. And I also like what you just said. Notice how I went straight to politics after our talk about addiction. I've gone about as far away from myself as I can, right? Right after having to be emotionally vulnerable and feel a little nervous and stuff. You know, Ayn Rand, the Atlas Shrugged author, fuck everyone, just do for yourself. And it's actually the best way you can help other people is to invest in yourself 100%. There may be something to that. It doesn't have to be so evil and selfish. You know, a lot of people just get nauseated when they hear the word Ayn Rand. But there may be something to that. Just invest in yourself as much as you can and put yourself in a position to be able to make the most change somewhere down the road. And that's all you can do. You know? I wonder how much of my interest in geopolitics and that kind of stuff in politics is just a distraction. You know, it's the only thing that I feel may have some real weight to it, may be really important, because my own life is somewhat lacking in adventure, and I'm of little account when it comes to making money or inventing stuff or building whatever. Like, I haven't done a lot myself, so I live vicariously through the, you know, lives of politicians and stuff like that.
Anything else?
I don't think so. Not right. Not for me. I was practicing to sit in silence and just make eye contact. It's so hard, man. I have a hard enough time sitting here not looking at you in the eye. And then when you do that, it's like, it's tough, very tough. But it's a good exercise, I think. It's very good.
You want to give it a shot?
Just sitting in silence?
Yeah.
Staring? Yeah. No. Nope. I have bad blood pressure. I don't want to, you know, seriously, I don't want to I don't want to die here.
My heart burst, yeah. My last episode before I went to jail.
Anything you want to talk about?
I'm good.
I think I'm good.
All right.
I really enjoyed this.
Cool.
I really enjoyed this. This was great. This morning I thought about how can I get out of this.
Really?
First thought of my mind, dude, how can I get out of this? It's gotta be legit. You know, like, don't give him some bullshit, he'll see right through it. And I realized no matter what I tell you, it'll be bullshit. And you'd see right through it. And even if it was legit, I still bailed. After the hashtag commit and all that. It's like...
That's what fascinates me in this life, is how well we justify our actions, right or wrong.
There was a scientist, I wish I knew his name, he did a study, and the study suggested that the majority of us, if not all of us, are pretty much unaware of what we're doing right in the moment, and then milliseconds after that we come up with our theory as to why we did it, and we believe it. Yeah. You know, I think there's some of us that are a little more present. That's a popular word these days, and probably are a little more aware of what they're doing. It's a spectrum, I guess. There's probably a spectrum, but what he's saying is down at this, you know, I don't know the language of this, but down at the real the minutia, at the bottom floor of the whole mechanism of thoughts and actions and kind of stuff, you can never truly be 100% certain of why you're doing anything, you know, unless maybe you studied it for like 5 years and then finally made a decision on it. But yeah, I mean, how much of everything we do all day is justifying the decisions we make? Is that was what you said you were really interested in, right? Yeah, absolutely. And I know I know personally, I am constantly reverse engineering my strategy and saying, well, I did this because of this, but in reality, I figured out that's a good reason to do it after the fact. So it's reckless. Almost all of my actions are reckless, and I assume I'm quick enough to figure it out on the fly. Yeah, that's a trip, man. That is a trip. I think part of that probably comes from, evolutionary. There's an evolutionary advantage to that. There's not always time to say, well, if I go here and do that and go that, and the lion may not get me. You just gotta act. You just gotta throw the spear or get the fuck out of there, right? And once you're safe, you don't even have to think of a theory as to why you ran away. So I think for hundreds of thousands of years, a species resembling us, if not Homo sapiens sapiens, just trying to stay alive, and we haven't quite outgrown a lot of that. We're still just horny as fuck all the time, most of us. We just want to impregnate everything around us, and yeah. So it's yeah. That's interesting, and I was doing this for a while. Is trying to be aware. And you kind of taught me how to do this, or told me about it. Is sort of viewing yourself, observing yourself, or whatever. Watching you do stuff as opposed to just being there and doing it. Really stop after every couple seconds to go, okay, where am I at now? What's driving this? What's motivating this? Is this only my ego? Am I trying to look tough? Is it sexuality? It really takes a lot of time. It's like you could go fucking crazy doing that. Yeah. But when I did do it, I was amazed at how much I was doing. It was just like gorilla ape nonsense. It was just like, I'm tougher than you. I'm better than you. I did that faster. I know more about that. Oh, good for you. You got that. I'm really jealous right now. It's like everything was like so primitive. It was like base emotions, 90% of it. And even the greatest intellectuals on the planet, or the most spiritually evolved people, you still see elements of that. Like that's who we are. We are apes, and yeah, we're African apes.
You see it in the Dalai Lama?
Not so much in him. Certainly, there's a spectrum, I think, but there was a couple quotes he had, and I read them, and I thought, well, I don't know the context, so I shouldn't judge. But I'm like, yeah, okay. He sounds pretty human to me in those comments. But he might be the first to admit that he's human. I don't know what he's all about. I think he's got a much better chance at doing stuff and being aware of why he's doing it and not going in for the wrong reasons than most of us do. Certainly I do, more than I do. Yes. Really quick, are you okay for one more thing? I got into this argument with this gentleman online, and it started off, he made a comment about, it was like an Elton John, Rod Stewart video, and they did a duet, and I love them both. And his comment was, I love seeing a gay guy and a straight guy come together and make music. And I said, half jokingly, half serious, Rod's as straight as a roundabout. And he he instantly got mean with me. He got so like, he got more pussy than you ever hoped to get, faggot. And I'm like, and I said like, well, being a faggot, I actually don't hope to get a lot of pussy, so I bet he did. And then he couldn't leave it at that, because maybe that was kind of like, fuck you too back or something. Like, I can be more clever than that. So then he comes back with something, and then it almost became civil. It was almost civil for a second. And then it so quickly turned into, well, everything I've heard about queers are true. You little Nancy, this and that, and you faggot, whiny, bitchy, and it got so personal so fast. And it escalated for almost 3 days. For 2 days it went on. I know for 2 days it went on, back and forth. Like what am I doing? Like, I was constantly feeling ridiculous for even doing this. Like, here's a couple of losers with nothing better to do than to argue online with someone. But it got personal. It went back and forth, and every now and then there'd be a little bit of seriousness to it. Like, we were really trying to argue certain points, and not to say I won the argument, but this guy was incredibly uneducated, and he was incredibly unarticulate. Whoops. He was. I mean, like, I'm no genius, but this guy was certainly not a very intelligent person. Like, he had terrible problems with punctuation and spelling and keeping on I understand why it devolved so quickly. After his first couple of arguments didn't work, he was like, well, then fuck you, faggot. At least I don't like penis, you faggot. And fair enough. And I actually liked that part of him better because that made sense when he was insulting me. His arguments didn't make any sense, but I liked it when he was insulting me. This goes back and forth for 2 days. And finally, on the night of the second day or the morning of the third day, I said, hey, dude, here's who I am. And I gave him a fucking ridiculously long, like an essay, like a page of my life and what I've done and what I'm doing, what I stand for, what I believe in. And he didn't say anything else after that. He stopped. And I wished him well. I said, and blah, 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 I wish you well. And I think him not replying was the closest he could get to a truce or a high five or something. I don't know why I told you that. I just thought it was cute and it was beautiful. It was a real example of a gay and straight guy coming together to make music for a second. Although it didn't go that well or whatever, but it ended decently. Like, I don't know. I thought there was something cool. I thought it related to his original comment somehow. That we happened to both be, the two characters in his comment. A gay guy and a straight guy came together to make, I don't know. I thought it was remarkable for some reason. Maybe it's not. I don't know. Call it a day.
It's a beautiful